Memory is long. This is just what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered.
Good evening, Hartford. How's everyone doing tonight? We waited a few minutes because I know there was an accident for those of you coming in on 84. I was stuck in it myself. So, and then the weather looked like it wasn't going to cooperate, but we're here, and we welcome you tonight. We're here. Such a great crowd to see me. Thank you. I know. I know who you're really here to see. We are here for the Dr. Simone Gold Uncensored Truth Tour. And I am very much looking forward to hearing her speak. Before we get started, my name is Brian Festa. I am the co-founder and vice president of We the Patriots USA. I want to give a shout out. To my amazing business partner, my dear friend Dawn Jolly, who can't be here tonight. Did I lose? No. Can't be here tonight, but she is a big part of what we do here and a big part of our mission. I want to make a couple of quick announcements. So you may have heard that after tonight's event, after the main event here, there is a VIP event. That is a VIP meet and greet with Dr. Simone Gold, exclusive access. Ticket prices, I know we got some pushback because of that, but it's a fundraiser, all right? And we have a very, very small room with a limited capacity, so is that better? See, now I'm going to be on a leash. That's the idea. Oh, okay. It's not on. Is it live? Can you hear me? Okay, that's better. So I can't talk without walking. You know, I used to be a teacher, and so I always had, always pacing back and forth. All right, so there's a VIP event at Peppercorn's Grill after this, and that is going to be from 8:30 to 10 p.m. And we still do have a limited number of tickets available, but again, it is a fundraiser for our nonprofit. If you can make it, if you think you might be interested, there are people with flyers. There's Gordana, our wonderful assistant, waving them over there. There's also, Ryan's got some, he's holding them up. There's a QR code where you can come over and just scan that. It'll bring you right to the ticket website where you can purchase those tickets. So we would greatly appreciate anyone who wants to have a private meet and greet experience. You'll get a chance. For the VIP tickets, you'll get a chance to sit right at the VIP table with Dr. Gold, talk to her, meet her, ask her some questions, and have sort of that intimate converse with her. At general admission, you'll still get to meet her. You'll be in the room, obviously. You'll get to meet her, get an autograph, take a picture. But we would greatly encourage you, if you're able to. I know it's kind of last minute, but if you can hang around, we would really appreciate it because it is a fundraiser. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we need the funds for in a minute. I do want to make one more announcement. Dr. Gold, her next stop on the Truth Tour is going to be in Buffalo, New York, on Tuesday, June 22nd. So that's coming up in just a couple of days. She's a guest speaker at the Prophetic Freedom and Health Conference, and that is a ticketed event. It's a ticketed suit and tie event, so it's a little more formal than where we are tonight. But I greatly encourage you also, if you can get up there, or if you know people that are in that area, let them know about it. You can register for it at aflds.org, aflds.org. So without further ado, I'm going to launch right into it because I am the first speaker here tonight. As I said, I'm Brian Festa. I'm a civil rights attorney. I founded We the Patriots USA, again, along with my business partner, Don, last year on July 4th. And that was no coincidence. What was going on in this country last year was unlike anything that any of us in the world, really, in the history of America had ever seen before, right? It was not America. I'm not so sure that we're back to America yet. I don't think so either. And so we said, Dawn and I had already had the Connecticut Freedom Alliance, which still is our local organization here in Connecticut, but we felt the need to do something much, much larger because, winning in Connecticut would be great. Fighting for our rights in Connecticut, fighting at the State House is great, but it's not going to get the job done. All right? What's going on here is part of a much, much larger agenda. And it's not just an agenda, obviously, in Connecticut. It's not just an agenda in Washington, D.C. It's a global agenda. Okay? And now suddenly, there's an admission. There's an admission that China may have been involved, that the Democratic Party may have been involved. Okay? Suddenly, that's not the stuff of conspiracy theory anymore. All right? So we realized we had to do something to take back this country, and we had to do something fast because we don't have months, we don't have years. This isn't like in the past when we're advocating for civil rights that there's just going to be this movement over the course of decades. We don't have decades. We're not going to have a country left to take back. Okay? So I'm telling everybody that's not motivated to get active, you better get motivated. Okay? And my Boston accent just came out there. All right? You better get motivated. All right? Really quickly. Because there's not going to be anything left. You're not going to have, some people, everywhere I go, I talk about fundraising. Because in order to stop this machine, it's going to take a lot of litigation. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. And that takes money. And the people who are would-be donors, many of the donors on the political right, do not like to fund litigation because they say, well, that's just not where we want to put our money. We don't want to put it into courts. We'd rather put it in other places. But what has the left been doing for the past 30 years, 40 years? That's all they've been doing is filing lawsuits. And we're not a partisan organization, by the way. We're nonpartisan, okay? People on the left, if they want to work with us and they want to stand up for freedom, we will work with them. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or anything else, independent. We will work with everyone. But I talk about left and right because right now, obviously more than ever, that seems to be the battle we're waging. And it's not left and right, it's good and evil. I mean, that's what it is. So anyway, I talk about money a lot of times, and people, don't like to hear about it. But I tell them, listen, You're wealthy. That's very good. I'm very happy that you have $150 million in your portfolio, sir. I'm looking at him. He doesn't. Okay? But maybe he does. I'm very, very happy. But guess what? You're not going to have any money left. In a very, very short amount of time, when we're under Chinese occupation, which I think we will be, okay? We are. Look at the farmland already. Okay? I can get into that in a minute, too. In a very short amount of time, when the dollar completely collapses, all right, you're not going to have any money left to give. So you're either going to give it now to a cause that's going to help us take back this country, or you're just going to succumb to the tyranny of communism. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because we have a guest here tonight that's running for office against a communist, in my opinion. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to tell you a little bit tonight about how I got started in this journey, okay, in the medical freedom journey. Now, We the Patriots does a lot more than medical freedom, okay? We do First Amendment rights, we fight against censorship, we're involved in activism related to all kinds of, environmental issues like 5G and things that are poisoning us, pharmaceutical industry, but medical freedom in particular is how I got started in activism. And I want to tell you a personal story of how I got started. So my son is vaccine injured, very severely vaccine injured. He's 9 years old now. And this happened many years ago. It seems like not too long ago, but he was injured, suffered a very serious reaction to the flu shot. The flu shot, and I still shake my head when I say that, because isn't that like the most pointless vaccine? Maybe until COVID, which isn't a vaccine. We'll talk about that in a minute. But isn't that like, until this one came along, isn't that like the most pointless one ever? Like, how many healthy people die of the flu? Probably about as many healthy people die of COVID, right? So, yeah, you're right. He said it's the same thing. So, yeah, flu disappeared last year, right? Right? It doesn't exist anymore. But my son suffered a very, very severe adverse reaction. First, it started with gastrointestinal symptoms, and then progressed very rapidly over the course of the next year, 2 years, to neurological symptoms. To the point where he has very serious autoimmune disorders, more than one. He's got very, very severe mitochondrial disorder, and he has autism. He's on the spectrum. He has PANS, if you know what that is. He was perfectly healthy before this. When the developmental pediatrician looked us in the eye and said that this is classic autism. Have you heard of classic autism before? Do you know what that is? That means he was born with it. If there weren't kids here, I'd like to say what my response was in my head. I didn't say it to her. But, yeah, I probably should have. It's not classic autism. A parent knows what their child is like at birth, what their child is like at 3 months of age, 6 months of age, 9 months. He was meeting and exceeding all of his milestones with regard to motor skills, language. He was ahead of the curve until he got that shot. So we started researching it, and we discovered, once you go down one rabbit hole, that's it. I'm seeing a lot of people nodding their heads. You've been there. This is a familiar story to you, right? And so I've never been the type of person to just sort of accept that and say, well, this is what happened. This is the hand we were dealt. This is God's will. It wasn't God's will. This was evil. God does not condone evil. This was done by a system, by the government, by the pharmaceutical industry, working in conjunction with the government, in collusion with the government, in conspiracy with the government. That's how this happened. This didn't happen. This wasn't from God. So I said, what am I going to do about it? If it's not from God, and it's not something that God wants to happen to children, what am I going to do? So I've always been one to fight. So I've been fighting ever since for him. And I'm seeing something that's happening now, that's happening especially this last year, but even more especially in the last few months with this COVID shot. You notice I will not call it the V word. I won't use that word to refer to it. It's experimental gene therapy. All right, but this COVID shot is even more dangerous than any vaccine that my son received. Far more dangerous. If he were to receive this, he would die. There's no question he would die, especially given his deficits now. So what I've been seeing happening, especially with regard to young people, and we have a very amazing young person I'm going to tell you about a little bit later who's going to speak, is very, very serious reactions, okay, known as myocarditis. Have you all heard about that? So what myocarditis is an inflammation of the heart tissue. Sometimes it's myocarditis, sometimes it's pericarditis, which is an inflammation of the lining of the heart. Now, when it was reported that there were 18 cases confirmed, now the Connecticut Department of Public Health confirmed that there were at least 18 cases of myocarditis in young people, children, adolescents, and young adults. They confirm. So if they're confirming, they don't admit anything. I really wish I could swear tonight. There's just too many little kids. I have so many things flying through my head that I want to say. All right? But they don't admit anything. If they're admitting to 18, how many do you think there really were? At least. So they admitted to 18 cases in Connecticut alone. Now let me tell you something. The Wyeth rotavirus vaccine in 1999 was pulled from the market. Do you know why it was pulled from the market? It was pulled from the market because there were 10 cases, 10 cases, can't do 10 with holding a microphone, but yeah, 10 cases of something called intersusception. Intersusception is when the bowel kind of telescopes in on itself, and it's fatal in many cases. 10 cases, and they nationwide, 10 cases, and they pulled that vaccine from the market. We had 18 cases of myocarditis in Connecticut alone, and now confirmed, again, their confirmed statistic, which is way lower than what it really is, confirmed over 300 cases nationwide now. And still, and so far, and still they won't pull it from the market. Now, let me tell you about myocarditis. Now, Representative Liz Linehan, who works in that building, if you can call it work, away from the people in hiding, what she did is she shared that on Facebook or retweeted it. I can't remember which of the censorship platforms she was on, but she shared it, and because someone else had done a story about this and said, well, let's just say we don't know, something to the effect of we don't know for a fact that this is causing it, and it's not any greater than the rate we normally see in the population. Bull. Again, the kids. All right? Jenna's like, I don't care. But listen, let me tell you, the normal rate in the population of myocarditis in children is 1 or 2 out of every 100,000. 18 in Connecticut in the space of like 2 months? Does that sound like 1 out of every 200,000? Okay. Myocarditis, they're calling it a mild side effect. It's not serious. Let me tell you something about myocarditis. Myocarditis is a lifelong condition in many cases. Myocarditis, many people have to be put on heart monitors for the rest of their lives. Many people have arrhythmias for the rest of their lives that can lead to cardiac arrest. There is a mortality rate of between 6 and 14%. Does that sound like a mild condition? Okay, that means between 6 and 14% of people die from myocarditis. That's not a mild condition, folks. And yet they've been downplaying this and saying it's no big deal. And the CDC, ACIP, which is the committee, the advisory committee for vaccines, ACIP was supposed to meet and have an emergency meeting yesterday. But because of a new federal holiday, and listen, I'm not going to say anything bad about Juneteenth. Okay, they had a little festival in the park for it just a couple of hours ago. But because of a new federal holiday that had been created just about 2 hours prior by that person who pretends to be president, they canceled it. They were supposed to have an emergency meeting to address myocarditis. So wait, this new federal holiday means we cancel something that has the potential of killing millions of children. You. Okay? That's what I want to say. All right? So now they're going to make it part of their regularly scheduled meeting, their regularly scheduled programming next week, I think June 25th or something. Now, I signed up to testify, so if you want to watch it virtually, hopefully I'll be able to testify. It's a lottery, though, so I don't know for a fact that I'll be able to. But you already heard it tonight. I'm going to tell them exactly what I said here, all right, if I get a chance. But can you believe this? So you're going to cancel an emergency meeting, and now it's not an emergency. They want to downplay it, because you know why? It had nothing to do with Juneteenth, folks. It was getting way too much attention. They're like, even the CDC admits this is an emergency, all right? Oh, no. We're canceling it. It'll be part of our regularly scheduled meeting next week. That's abhorrent. Yes. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. I mean, this is very, very real. When people, when we make bold statements, we compare this to events in history like the Holocaust, and they say, we're horrible people. How dare you make that comparison? I see someone with a gold star there. How dare you make that comparison? Okay, so willfully injecting children with poison that could very likely lead to their death in the name of something that almost never leads to their death, that is not a Holocaust? That is not genocide? And the seniors, everyone they're pushing this on, healthy people have a less than 1% chance of dying from this thing, okay? From this bioweapon. Yes, miscarriages, bleeding, infertility, strokes, heart attacks, myocarditis, all of these, paralysis, and death. It is intentional. It's absolutely intentional. And if you have the intentional killing of millions of people worldwide, what do you call that than a Holocaust? What do you call that, okay? It's pure evil, and we have to stop it. That's not partisan. Don't stand up here and say, oh, he's being right-wing. He's being conservative because he's speaking out against genocide. Really? That's conservative now? You know, I mean, this is not a partisan issue. This is a human rights issue. So real quick, because I'm going to wrap up, because again, you're here to see people much more important than I. I want to tell you about what We the Patriots is doing to fight back against this, okay? So we have assembled a litigation team of attorneys across the country who are filing lawsuits on behalf of people who are being harmed by this, if not directly harmed, if not suffering direct injury, being harmed through their employment, being told that they're going to lose their job unless they get this, being told that they can't go to school. Someone I've been working with about a possible lawsuit put her daughter through 3 years at a very exclusive private school right here in the Northeast. Okay, I'm not going to mention it yet because it's pending litigation, but put her daughter through 3 years of school, and her daughter's now a rising senior at a school that costs over $80,000 a year to go to, and is being told now she can't finish her education unless she gets this. And when she tries to say that she has a religious objection, the school says, well, no, that doesn't count because it's a Catholic university, it's a Catholic college. You're a Catholic, well, we don't have any problem with it, so therefore you can't have an objection as a Catholic. I'm a Catholic, all right? I will proudly say I'm a Catholic, okay? And I object to it. I have major objections to it. The use of aborted fetal matter in the production of the vaccines, of all three of these vaccines, is very real, and I have a moral objection to that. And I don't care, I really don't care what that man in Rome is saying, okay, who says that, oh, well, it's okay, so therefore, he says it's okay, so he speaks for everyone. Guess what? The Pope is not, this will give you a little religion lesson. The Pope is not infallible. The Pope is only infallible when he's speaking ex cathedra, which means from the chair of Peter, okay? And that's only on matters of faith and doctrine, faith and morals, they say, okay? All right? This is not, so he can say whatever he wants. I don't have to, as a faithful Catholic, I don't have to follow anything he says, okay? So we're filing litigation all across the country. What we need more than anything else is donations. And I hate to talk about money because I didn't come here to talk to you about money. I came here to tell you my story and to tell you what I think about what's going on in this country right now. And I already did that. But I do want to say, unfortunately, to have any chance of stopping their machine, we're going to need a machine of our own. And that's going to cost a lot of money. One case alone, you could be talking about 6 figures easily for one lawsuit. And we want to file dozens in circuits all across this country, which is what we're trying to do. We have a potential case right now. Against the state of Missouri. We have a potential case right now against an airline for a flight attendant who lives in Florida. We have a case right now, potential case right now, several cases, more than one case for college students here in Connecticut and in New York, okay, who can't go to school because of this. Each of those lawsuits, again, could be 6 figures. So we're not going to do this until we start getting some of the donors to back this up. And there's not nearly enough people here, unless you all have $150 million portfolios, but there's not nearly enough people here to get it done. So I need to ask you something. I need you to please, please, please spread the word. Please tell people to go to wethepatriotsusa.org and to donate to our mission, to our cause. We have something on there called the Patriot Support Network. And what we do, we are not a law firm, so we don't represent you, but we have this network of attorneys that we're in touch with, that we know that we can put you in touch with an attorney, get you started, and then make a donation, as funds allow, make a donation to your legal expenses. So whether that's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, whatever we have to give you to get you off the ground, we'll do that. That's our mission, connecting you with the right people, with the attorneys who can help you, and then helping you pay for it, okay? But again, that's going to take all of us to pull together. WeThePatriotsUSA.org. My amazing assistant, Chief Executive Assistant Gordana is over there. One of our assistants, I should say. Oh, she's right there. She's got the flyer for the VIP event where all proceeds will also go to this mission, okay? If you can find a way to come to be there tonight, like I said, you'll not only get a private audience with Dr. Gold, but you'll also be supporting this work that I'm talking about right now. WeThePatriotsUSA.org, and we have some amazing attorneys. We have to stop this because I'm sick and tired of hearing stories, and I'm going to close with this, hearing stories like Simone Scott. Has anyone heard about Simone Scott? Simone Scott was a very, very bright young woman. She was a student at Northwestern University, 19 years old. She was a double major in political science and broadcast journalism with a concentration in pre-law. She was someone that always wanted to do what she felt was best for humanity. And so she didn't think twice, really, when the time came for her to get her shot, the COVID shot. This was in early, mid-May. She got her first dose. And she had some flu-like symptoms, started feeling very, very fatigued, muscle aches, fever, although that's normal. That's normal. And really, really, when things got really bad, you know what I'm going to say, right? After that second dose. So it wasn't just those flu-like symptoms anymore. Now she was just completely bedridden for a lot of her days. Chest pains, everything else. She went to the ER 4 times, I think. 4 times, and each time they sent her home. So the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with her, so there must not be anything wrong, right? And then eventually, when she was admitted, they found out she had myocarditis, which they said is usually caused by a viral infection. Except they couldn't identify any virus. They wouldn't say it's the vaccine, but they wouldn't rule out it's the vaccine. Her family pleaded with the physician's assistant, please, who was there, with the whole medical team, please report it to VAERS. Report it to VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. They wouldn't do it. Finally, a physician's assistant agreed to, after many, many requests. She ended up needing a heart transplant. And unfortunately, it didn't take. Her body was rejecting it. And on June 11th, Friday, June 11th, she passed away. So not this last Friday, a week ago Friday. Again, they wouldn't admit that it was the vaccine, but they couldn't rule it out. Now, this is a person who previously didn't have any heart problems. She had a few bouts of pneumonia in her life, I think twice in her life she had pneumonia. Never had any serious heart issues or anything like that until she got this shot. Her mother said, after this happened, I never thought that I'd have to give up my only daughter, that I'd have to give up my daughter for the greater good. But that's exactly what she did, except that it wasn't for the greater good. It was for the greater evil. It did nothing good. It's not going to save any people. It's not going to save more people than it harms. I'll put it that way. Now, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving medical advice. Let me put that caveat. But when you hear story after story after story after story of serious injury and death, you have to stop and say, what are we doing? What have we done? And so we need to push back, and we need to push back in a very, very, very big way. So again, I'm going to close now, and I'm going to turn this over to some other people. We have some amazing speakers tonight. I thank you for your attention, though, and listening to me, and I thank you for your support. So our next guest is a gentleman that I have a great amount of respect for, even though I didn't know anything about him up until this morning. And the reason I have respect, I don't know anything about him personally. I don't really even know about his history, but I know what he's doing now. And he's running against someone I believe to be a communist, Janet Mills, Governor Janet Mills, governor of Maine. Okay, and this is Dr. Gold's only stop in the Northeast, in New England. So we were hoping to have people here from all over New England, all right? But we're happy with the crowd we have. I want to introduce now gubernatorial candidate Mike Heath.
All right. Give yourselves a hand for being here. Isn't this wonderful to get off Facebook and to get out into the real weather? Thank you, Brian Festa and We the Patriots USA for organizing this event. I found out about it a few days ago and through a friend in South Carolina, and a lot of texting and a lot of social, you know how it works, phone calling. I'm here from Maine. I drove down. Greetings from the great state of Maine, where the mask mandate was lifted by Jezebel Janet Kills a few weeks ago. And you can feel free to come in and after the end of June, because she, the dictator, the authoritarian, has decided to lift the emergency status that she's been using to keep our People's Building closed for over a year. We have the same situation in Maine that you have here. The politicians have locked themselves behind gates. I guess it's better than D.C., right? They have razor-wired fence around the Capitol building now because of the January 6th insurrection. Right. I was there. It was no insurrection. I stood for 5 hours in front of the boom boxes there, waiting for Donald Trump to speak. And I was crammed shoulder to shoulder with people for those 4 or 5 hours. And not for 1 second did I feel unsafe. I looked back to the Washington Monument from, Constitution Avenue, and it was a sea of people all the way to the Washington Monument, and I saw no evidence of violence. Whatever happened at the Capitol, it's all being, I don't know if it'll get sorted out because the politicians are making a mess out of it, but I don't believe a word they say. And I don't come to this as a politician. I come to this event because when the COVID cult launched its attack on the world a year and a half ago, I knew in my heart, because I've been in politics my whole life, I knew in my heart that something else was going on. Yeah, maybe it's a bioweapon, maybe it's a virus, but I know that there's politics involved with this in a big way. And so I was immensely skeptical until what Dr. Simone Gold calls the White Robe Summit. Do you remember that? It went viral. It was in front of the Capitol building, a bunch of doctors talking in that video. And when I saw that, and when we all saw that, we knew that our skepticism about what was going on, our sense that it was political, was the truth. And we are shifting, and I'll close with this, from, we face a choice in this country and in this world now. It's pretty obvious if you pay any attention. If you turn off the communist news network and you go on the internet and you do your own research, then you're realizing that we are right now, especially in politics, but also in religion and in culture and in the academy, we are making a choice between whether we are going to begin a decades-long transition into a form of communism that the world has never seen, where you're not going to own any, your children and your grandchildren are not going to own any property, and guess what? They're going to love it, according to Klaus Schwab. They're going to love it. So we're either going to go down that road, or in America, we're going to choose in the next couple of years whether we are going to continue the hard work of building and maintaining a constitutional republic. That's the choice we face. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. That's the choice we face. Brian, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Can I do one quick thing? Yeah. I want to introduce my wife. She travels with me. She's my secretary. She's wonderful. I couldn't do this without her. Stand up. Polly Heath right here. And I forgot to say heathforgovernor.com, heathforgovernor.com, Heath the candy bar for governor.com. Check it out. Thank you.
And I forgot to read your bio. There's always something you're going to forget, but you know that gave you more time, so that's fine. Late addition to our lineup, but thank you very much, Mike. The next person that I'm going to introduce, I'm very, very proud to introduce. I don't have a bio for her. It's only 11 years long. This brave young woman, on June 8th, I think it was, did something that I don't think most adults in this country had the courage to do, let alone most children. On June 8th, Jenna Miller of Albany, New York, and I'll let her tell you the story in more detail, took off her mask in school. And you know what? They kicked her out. But you know what? Jenna did one of these on the way out. And you may have seen her picture circulating. So it is my distinct honor, because I know, listen, like I said, most adults didn't have the courage to do it this last year and a half, right? I wouldn't have had the courage to do it when I was 11. I guarantee you that, okay? I would never have had the courage to do that because, not that I was a total follower, but I was much more of a follower than I am now. I wasn't doing this, but she's doing this. Please welcome Jenna Miller.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening. Thank you for having me here as a guest speaker. My name is Jenna Miller, and I am 11 years old. I am a BMX racer, and I've been racing... Okay. There we go.
So everybody can see.
I am a BMX racer, and I've been racing for the past 7 years. I hold many titles and rankings in the USA. Most recently, I qualified to be on Team USA for the World BMX Championships held in the Netherlands to race against the best in the world. I am a student at Cahill Elementary School in Saugerties, New York. I would like to share my story with you of what happened to me on June 8th of 2021, a date that I will never forget. I was excited to hear that the mask mandate in school was going to be lifted, and I was even more excited I was going to be able to enjoy my last 2 weeks of school, going to the cafeteria, using our cubbies, and seeing the other half of all my friends' faces and smiles. I learned that this was only a tease. Monday came and the mask mandate was still in place. On June 8th, when I arrived at school, I walked past our temperature check station with no issues. They saw I did not have a mask on, nor was one given to me. I continued to my classroom, and I was stopped by the school nurse and taken into her office. She physically put a surgical mask that was too big over my face. She said that it needed to be done, and I had to wear a mask. I asked her not to touch my face, but she placed it on me anyway. I knew this was wrong. I had a feeling in my stomach that something was not right. I did not like being touched and having something placed over my face. I did not like that someone did not listen to me when I said I don't want to be touched. I went up to my classroom, and 2 hours into my day, the temperature in the class became unbearable. We don't have air conditioners, and we're not allowed to use a fan because they say a fan spreads COVID. I could not concentrate on my work any longer. I was sweating, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I kept getting yelled at constantly by my teacher to pull my mask up over my nose. I just wanted to breathe fresh air. I said that I could not breathe, and I was sent down to the nurse's office. She checked me over, and she said I was fine. Then she told me I can go back to class wearing a mask, or I can go home because I was not following school policy. I said, call my mom, because I simply couldn't take it anymore. In conclusion, we cannot let fear take place of common sense. Making kids sweat in a classroom with temperatures in the 90s, no air conditioning, no fans, and a face covering that obstructs breathing freely is not fair and makes no sense at all. Making kids suffer from headaches and nosebleeds just to have the opportunity to attend in-person classes is also unfair and makes no sense at all. The state lifting all restrictions for almost everything except schools is not fair, makes no sense, and has nothing to do with science. Yes, even 11-year-olds understand this. Once we restore common sense to the decision makers and show that a kid without a mask on is not dangerous, we can finally get back to normal. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. You know, I interviewed her. Thank you, Jenna. I interviewed her online a couple of nights ago to promote this event. And I said, any parting words? And she said, yeah. A $2 mask is not going to keep you from getting sick from COVID. It says so right on the box. I thought that was great. It's not going to help keep you from getting sick from anything, really, right? In fact, it's going to make you sick. They did this study where they took the masks. You hear about it? And they tested the bacteria on the masks. And what did they find? How many 17 different strains of bacteria? And meningitis? Strep? She knows. She knows better than I do, okay? I like to call Jenna not a future freedom fighter. She is a freedom fighter. She's a warrior now. Now, I'm not that much taller than she is, but I'm going to do this anyway. All right. So this is what you've all been waiting for. Actually, let me just say this. She's got a tough act to follow, okay? Anyone who wants to meet any of our speakers tonight, the VIP event, all of the speakers will be there. So you can have a private meet and greet, not only with Dr. Gull, but with Jenna, with Mike, with me, if you want. All right, we're all there to talk to you. There are still a limited number of tickets available. Gordana, again, hold it up. Anyone else who has those flyers, QR code, Ryan has some too. Please go over to the tent, scan it, buy some tickets. General admission tickets are now half price. Peppercorn's Grill in Hartford, 347 Main Street, right here in Hartford, 8:30, immediately following this. Head on over. I'm now going to introduce someone who's going to introduce our main guest tonight. Please welcome Creative Director, Mr. John Strand, Creative Director for America's Frontline Doctors. Did I get that right? Executive Creative Director. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Brian. Connecticut. Yes. How are we feeling tonight? Feeling good? I just have to say, that was tremendous. Wow. That was really inspiring. It's the youth. It's the children that we fight for, that we live for, that we want to protect. That's what we fight for, the future. Children are the future, right? They are 1/3 of our population, but 100% of our future. And we have to be fighting for their lives and for their safety and for their health and opening the door for them to step up and take leadership. It's amazing. It's incredible. So you guys, we have been on a mission these last 6 weeks now, I think. This is the Uncensored Truth Tour presented by America's Frontline Doctors. And this is about physicians and patients standing up together for science, freedom, and common sense. It's so important. And it's not just about one doctor or one patriot bringing people together. It's about all of us as Americans, as citizens, coming together and saying, we are united, we are coming together under those basic precepts. Liberty, the sanctity of life, and common sense, which is in short supply. So we're so excited that you guys are here. And before we bring on Dr. Gold, we're actually really excited to introduce to you one of our amazing America's Frontline Doctors affiliate professionals. Dr. Jen Vandewater is a pharmacist, and she's actually our pharmacist liaison, which is a very interesting component of the medical situation that's been happening in the last couple of years. And so I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Jen Vandewater.
Thank you, John. Hello, Connecticut. I'm a fellow New Englander. I'm from New York, so I feel your pain. I just want to tell you guys my story. That's the best way to let you know who I am and how I got to where I'm at. So I've been in pharmacy since 1998, not as a pharmacist. I started out as a pharmacy technician at a corner store, Rite Aid, and I loved the job. And I was encouraged by my fellow colleagues to take the leap and jump into pharmacy as a pharmacist. I was told I'd make a big difference in my community. So I did. I reached out to Albany College of Pharmacy, started classes there, and in 2006 I graduated as a doctor of pharmacy. Through the years, I saw changes. When I was a technician, the pharmacy was not a production line. When I got out of school, the pharmacy became a production line. It was check, 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 get the patient in and out. And I was told I was spending too much time counseling my patients. And I thought, that's why I'm a pharmacist, to help the patient, not just fill prescriptions. So after a few years graduating pharmacy school, I decided to go towards the independent pharmacies. They were less production and more patient care. Through that journey, I loved it. I had more patient interaction. I felt that I could be the pharmacist I knew I wanted to be. But I started to see things happening. The last place I was employed had a long-term care department and a retail department. I worked both. In the long-term care, I started to see the doctors were over-prescribing to the elderly patients their meds. And I was concerned. And so I would reach out to the doctors and say, hey, just a heads up, it looks like they're on some duplicate meds. And in one of my calls, I was informed that they had a pharmacist on duty. I was like, you have a pharmacist in the office? And they said, yeah, actually he's retiring and we need someone to replace him. I said, this might be my opportunity to actually be an advocate for you, to be a voice for you and talk to the doctor one-on-one prior to the prescriptions just constantly being written. So I was excited, put my notice in at work. That was January 2020. We all know what happened shortly after that. So I decided to take a little bit of time in between the two jobs. Honestly, spring cleaning, who doesn't have a dirty house, right? So I was so excited to have a little bit of a break. Then I get a notice after March that the position was terminated due to COVID. So now here I am, a licensed pharmacist, watching everything unfold. I was in shock. I was in horror. I was actually happy I wasn't at the pharmacy wearing a mask and a face shield all day. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So in that time, I started doing research. And through my research, I came across America's Frontline Doctors. I saw Dr. Gold and all the pharmacists standing on the steps of the Supreme Court in July of 2020. And I thought, there's my group. They hear me without even knowing me. So after a few months, when people were sending me videos constantly, Jen, you should reach out. This is where you belong. I said, yeah, but I'm not that kind of doctor. They're doctors, medical doctors fighting. What are they going to need a pharmacist for? So eventually I got the courage and I reached out and they said, yes, we want pharmacists. I said, great, can I bring on more? And they said, yes, let's get them. So now I'm in the goal to get other like-minded pharmacists who see what's happening, who want to make pharmacy better for the future for you, and who also want to work with the doctors, not go against the doctors like we see happening now in the pharmacies. Doctors are prescribing hydroxychloroquine for COVID treatment and prevention, and there are pharmacists out there that are saying, no, we're not filling this. That's wrong. If I ever would have done that in my time of practicing, that doctor would have reported me to the board and I could possibly lose my license for not filling a prescription as the doctor wrote. So I want to be a voice for you. I want to be a voice for other pharmacists. I want us to grow. I want us to become united with the doctor and do everything we possibly can for patient care. Another thing that I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else feels like this, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. I have this pre-2020 life and I have this post-2020 life. But I want to encourage you all that this life I'm in right now is purpose-driven. I have never, ever felt so motivated, so encouraged to stand up and fight. I'm just a girl from a small town. I'm not some famous person, I'm not anybody, but I'm somebody, right? I'm somebody. And I want to make a difference, and I want to encourage each of you. You have that same opportunity. You don't have to have a big name, you have to have a big voice. Get out in your